We come to you live from historic Crocker Field here in the heart of Fitchburg as FATV presents coverage of Fitchburg Red Raider football. And tonight, as the Raiders turn the page from a challenging September, they move into the month of October as they take on the Panthers of Marlborough in a Mid-Wash B showdown. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. I'm Daniel Bolak. Happy to have you along with us here today. John Gugerty is on assignment. We hope to see him later in the season. But in the meanwhile, Dr. Robert Hines, longtime public address announcer at Fitchburg State University, has been kind enough to join us on the broadcast for this week and next. Rob, thank you for coming on.
Dan, it is a pleasure to again be working with you. We were reminiscing a little bit when I came up the spiral staircase there about the times we've worked together in the past. So this is another great opportunity, and I appreciate you giving it to me.
Indeed, and we've worked through from some historic venues as well, the Curry Hicks Cage, Frazier Field out in Lynn, and now historic Crocker Field.
Indeed we did. And you know what, Dan? This may be the best of them all. This is just a great scene in Fitchburg, historic scene. And hopefully we'll get a good game tonight.
Indeed, it's a jewel of a football stadium, and there we are up here in the press box, one of the nicest press boxes in all of the state of Massachusetts when it comes to high school football. But we do have a game to cover tonight, the Red Raiders of Fitchburg High School and the Panthers of Marlborough, as the Raiders make their way onto the field. The Raiders 0-4 this season, coming off a 37-0 loss to the Pioneers of St. John's, one of really four very challenging opponents to open the season.
Yeah, St. John's is perennially one of the stronger programs in central Massachusetts, so I don't think there's any shame in playing them tough but not coming out on the winning side. But they, in general, the Red Raiders have had a pretty challenging schedule thus far.
No question about it. Opening up against a Leominster team that is resurgent 4-0 already and taking on an Eastern Mass power in Peabody tonight. Wachusett 3-1, their only loss to a Division I power in Franklin. And Shepherd Hill has played teams tough this season. You see the Raiders taking the field. As for Marlborough, they're 3-1. They've had a pretty good start to the season themselves. They opened with a 33-14 win over Tantascwa, a 27-14 win over Shepherd Hill, there's the common opponent, and a 28-6 win over Oakmont. Most recently, they took on the Gators of Grafton, who were a bit of their kryptonite last year, lost twice to the Gators, once in the regular season, once in the playoffs, and it was a tight defensive battle. 13-7, Grafton ended up being the winners on that. So Marlborough will be looking to bounce back, and they'll be led by their running backs, Miguel Borges and Neon Stemple.
Well, Marlborough certainly has had its own challenging schedule thus far. They did have convincing wins, first three games of the season. Looks like Grafton, who's now 4-0 and a quality program as well, just had their number last week at Marlborough.
Oh, no question about it. You see the captains coming to midfield. Johnny L. Silvestri, Luke Bolak, and Antonio Santiago are the captains for the Red Raiders. Brandon Alfaro, one of the captains for the Panthers, along with Howie Priest and one other captain, just trying to memorize it off the roster. That would be Neon Stemple is the third captain.
So it looks like the Red Raiders will be in the red jerseys this evening and their gray pants. Marlborough is going to wear the away whites with the orange helmets and black pants.
It'll be another sharp-looking football matchup. Get the results of the coin toss from referee Joe Teixeira. Going over the options. Fitchburg won the toss, chose to defer. Thus Marlborough will receive, and the Raiders will defend the end to our right.
I appreciate that both programs have the very bright numbers on the jersey. As someone who has worked a number of games in press boxes where sometimes schools don't quite have that bright jersey that you can pick up under the lights, that should be helpful for us tonight.
Oh, no question. It's going to be a good-looking football matchup tonight as the teams take the field and get ready for tonight's football contest. It's Fitchburg, it's Marlborough. Here on FATV, we'll send it to public address announcer Chris Woods with the rest of the pregame.
Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, we'd please ask that you rise and remove your caps. Before we play the national anthem, we wanted to mention that in the early morning hours of October 2nd, the greater Central Massachusetts football community suffered a tremendous loss with the tragic passing of Coach Charlie Raff. During his time in Fitchburg, Coach Raff touched countless lives, and his memory and legacy will live on in the hearts and minds who loved him dearly. We humbly invite you all to please join in a moment of silence in his memory. Thank you very much. At this time, the Fitchburg High School Marching Band will play our national anthem.
Friday night football under the lights here at historic Crocker Field. The Red Raiders of Fitchburg High School and the Panthers of Marlborough. Daniel Bolak, Rob Hines here with you. As was mentioned, all of the North Central Massachusetts football community lost one of their own this past Sunday with the passing of Charlie Raff at the young age of 39. He was an assistant coach at Gardner. He was an assistant at Leominster, here in Fitchburg at North Middlesex, a head coach at Oakmont, a Fitchburg State graduate and a graduate of West Springfield. Out there coming from West Springfield in 2001 out to Central Mass, where he touched countless lives.
Indeed, Coach Raff had a significant impact on a lot of young people in this area. Most certainly a significant loss for the entire area. And his fingerprint is on an awful lot of programs, both at the high school and the collegiate level.
No question about it. He will be greatly missed. And so a bit of heavy hearts here at Crocker Field and really across all of North Central Mass tonight. But we will play football in his memory. And so the Raiders will kick off to start this contest. Looks like they'll be changing up the personnel on kicking as well, because that is not the normal individual we see in Shea Gagnor, but it is Nicholas Tebow, a senior lineman, who will kick it off.
Tebow will do the kicking tonight. Back deep is Brandon Alfaro from Marlborough.
Brandon Alfaro back deep, and he is going to take this on a hop. Had a bit of trouble corralling the football, and it was taken in at the 29-yard line, brought to the 35, not by Alfaro, but that was actually Miguel Borges who picked that one up and brought it back.
Yeah, a bit of a dicey return there, Dan, for a moment. That was a bit of a squib kick, though it did travel about 40 or 50 yards, but several hands from the Panthers had a touch of it before Borges was able to bring that one in and advance the ball a bit.
They'll take it at the 36-yard line, 7 seconds gone in the contest. And so we'll get a chance to see Marlborough's offense for the first time tonight. And we're going to be looking for a lot of play out of the running back positions. We'll explain in a moment. On first down, pitched out to the far side of the field. And A crash there just short of the 40-yard line. It's Fernando Rodriguez, the junior running back, who takes the first carry of the contest.
Yeah, picked up about 6 there, Dan, on that pitch. Fitchburg defense had some nice pursuit. They were able to get to that side of the line, but a gain of about maybe 5 yards on that play to get the Panthers going.
And interesting, they go with Rodriguez on the very first carry. He had no carries coming into today's contest. So very much a change of pace. And the quarterback, Michael Benway, he's a sophomore. He is not the normal starting quarterback. Jason Nollenberg, a senior, has typically been the quarterback. Suffered an injury last week. He is out for tonight's game. And so that's why Marlborough is really going to be looking to Miguel Borges and Neilon Stemple as the tip tackle there at the 46-yard line, going vertical in the air in the wrong direction in a sense.
Yeah, pickup of looks like first down yardage. The chains are moving. That was a dangerous leap near the end there. He had a couple of Fitchburg tacklers that were right on him. Excellent pursuit behind the line of scrimmage, but it seems thus far the Panthers are able to move the ball when they want to.
So a 6-yard run for Borges on 2nd and 5 will give a fresh set of downs to the Panthers. 53 yards from goal are Marlborough with 1:20 gone in this contest. 1st and 10. Benway with the short handoff. It goes to Rodriguez, who gets it past the 50-yard line with a second effort as he was wrapped up. Gets it to the Fitchburg 48-yard line, another 5-yard gain.
Yeah, Dan, similar play calling thus far in the contest and similar result. I think it's been a 5-yard gain, a 6-yard gain, a 5-yard gain. Fitchburg, the Raider defense is holding tough. They're definitely in there making hits, but it seems like the running back for the Panthers is able to get through the line fairly readily. It's the linebackers who are making the final hit.
So it's Borges and Fernandez in the backfield on 2nd and 5. Spin around and it goes to Borges, going right up the middle again. Looks like he's going to be a bit short of the line to gain, but a 4-yard gain, though, is happily in the plans of head coach Sean Mahoney, the 19th year head coach for the Panthers.
Nice tackle there by DeLeon. He held on till he got some help from his teammates there. But again, the Red Raiders are aware of what the play seems to be. They have the personnel available. It's just a grind thus far of 4 yards, 5 yards, 4 yards, 5 yards.
So 3rd down and less than 2 to go, as they'll be looking to get to the 43 for a first down. Quick handoff on the option. Borges stays on his feet, wrapped up and taken down by Doharian Wells. That'll be enough for a first down, though.
Yeah, pickup of about 6 there again, Dan. Thus far, we haven't seen the Panthers feel the necessity to put it in the air. It's been 5 running plays thus far, or close to it. Again, Raider defense is where they need to be. It's just there's some power in these Panther backs, and they are able to push that line a little bit.
Indeed, and that's one of the things that the Raiders have had as a bit of a weakness, has just been their line has had a tendency to get overpowered. And so it looks like Marlborough, they've got themselves a solid offensive line. Nollenberg only put it in the air 21 times in those 4 weeks, so it's not like Marlborough goes to the air very often. 2 in the backfield, again in Borges and Rodriguez. This time it is Rodriguez, immediately spun down to the ground by Manny Encarnacion.
I think Benway may have kept there, Dan.
I think you're right. I think I tracked the wrong person.
You and half the people here at Crocker Field were looking at the middle of the line. Benway was very elusive there. Really sold that fake, and yeah, it was Benway who was the carrier and had a nice gain around the left side for it.
Indeed, he gets to the 30-yard line, just past it when he's taken down by DeLeon. To the 30 they give him. A keeper there for Michael Benway, and yeah, completely caught me off guard. I was so happy I was able to identify the tackler that quickly. That's, nope. 30-yard lines, 2nd down, right up the middle they plunge. That'll be good enough for the first down. It's one of their shorter runs of the night for Miguel Borges, but it's good enough. If the end result is 1st and 10, you'll take it.
Yeah, so we're going to set up 1st and 10 for Marlborough here from the Fitchburg 27-yard line.
Just a quick plunge up the middle for Borges, and he's one of those reliable running backs for Marlborough. Coming into the contest, 65 carries, 483 yards, and 8 touchdowns.
I mean, bravo to the O-line of Marlborough as well. They are opening nice holes for these running backs.
7 carries for 37 yards are the Panthers thus far. And another 1st and 10 coming, 27 yards from goal. Delayed handoff. It is Rodriguez again up the middle. Pinballs off of 2 Red Raiders.
Looks like a pickup there, Dan, of about another 5 or 6 yards.
Seems like a trend.
Looks like the Red Raiders are well represented by their cheerleaders and the band that we heard for the national anthem as well. Great to see.
Indeed, great participation from the cheerleaders, great participation from the band, a great rendition of the national anthem. Tabitha Greenlees does a great job. 5 yards gained on first down for Rodriguez, and we have a flag thrown by the far line and pushing and shoving after that.
First flag of the game, Dan. We'll see what happened here. Looks like the way that
defense.
So, yeah, you could tell from the Marlborough players clapping that they had gotten a Fitchburg defender to jump a little early before that play got going. So that'll cost them 5. Going to set up a second and a long one now, Dan.
Put it down at the 18-yard line. On second down and 1 to go. Marlborough's look solid, keeping it on the ground in the early stages of this contest. 6:30 and counting to go in the first quarter. But finally, a run that does not go the Panthers' way.
That got blown up immediately at the line. Fans are quite pleased to see the Red Raiders blow that play up. Loss of a couple. They're having a little trouble on the chain gang across the way, but it looks like they lost about 3 yards on that play.
Yeah. Just tried to get the quick handoff to Borges. By the time he received the ball, he was already wrapped up. That's just tremendously well read by the Red Raiders. They'll put the ball at the 20-yard line. So a loss of 2 yards. That's the first negative result for Marlborough. Before that, I think their shortest run was 3 yards. So big sea change there. Delayed handoff. Borges found a hole up the middle, and he's making his way into the end zone. Touchdown, Panthers.
All right, so looked like about a 24-yard touchdown run, Dan. Do I have that right?
20 yards.
20 yards, excuse me. That was a great cut. If you saw Borges when he got through the initial part of the line there was a big hole to the left. He made a beautiful cut there, and there really wasn't anything that the Fitchburg secondary had in place to stop him once he made it through the line.
Oh, no question about that. Once they made that opening, and Borges just ran right through it. You could drive a Mack truck through that opening. Extra point is up, and it is good by Alfaro. 5:41 to go, first quarter of play. Marlborough leads 7-0.
So tough outcome on the initial drive for the Red Raider defense. I don't think they have to hang their heads. They held tough. Marlborough is a big, strong team. That offensive line of Marlborough is gonna push the defensive line around a little bit, but they did hold their own. We'll see how the offense does when they get to the field, but the defense definitely does not have to hang their head. That was a tough team that they just took on, and they really held their own.
10 carries, 59 yards for the Panthers. Kept it all on the ground. 6 minutes, 19 seconds. They ground down the clock, and half of the quarter with it for the first touchdown of the contest. And we'll see what the Red Raiders have in response. Want to remind you, all FATV remote productions underwritten by Workers Credit Union, Rollstone Bank and Trust, UMass Memorial Health, Health Alliance, Clinton Hospital, North End Subaru, Unitil, Minuteman Press, and the Sentinel and Enterprise. We thank them for all the support they provide us.
So it really is a great scene here, Dan. And again, I appreciate you allowing me to fill in for the outstanding John Gugerty tonight. But the cheerleaders are here, the band is here. It's historic Crocker Field. For those in the audience who have not spent an evening or two at Crocker Field, it really is something to see.
Yep. By the way, John Gugerty mentions he is heartbreakingly sad to have missed this game. After all, it's his old high school.
Oh, no kidding.
Yep. He loves rooting for his Marlborough Panthers. Brought up by the Red Raiders, far side of the field. Stephen Bate brings it across the 30-yard line. A good run back.
Hey, nice return there for the Red Raiders. That could set the offense up nicely. It looks like the official's going to place it at roughly the 37-yard line. Nice place to start. Hey, that kicker from Marlborough has quite a leg, both on the extra point prior and that kickoff. That was pretty impressive kicking there.
Senior receiver Brandon Alfaro made his 11th extra point of the season. A very trusted leg. Also one of the leading receivers for this Panther side. 193 yards in receptions on 8 catches this season. He's done a lot in all phases of the game for Marlborough. And now with 5:34 to go in the first quarter, We see the Raiders offense on the field for the first time today. Junior quarterback Luke Bolak on first down. Quick throw out near side is caught by Doharian Wells. Only takes one play for the Raiders to go to the air. Marlborough had the play well read, and Wells could not escape the grasp of the Panthers. Ends up being no gain on first down.
Yeah, the Panthers were on top of that. Brandon Alfaro had that one sniffed out from the very beginning. It seemed not a bad play, trying to open it up a little bit, but yeah, nobody was fooled on the defensive side for sure.
And so we saw Marlborough keep it exclusively on the ground. The Raiders immediately going to the air.
Real nice tackle there by Alfaro, too. Perfect technique on that, huh?
As I mentioned, all aspects of the game. Devani DeLeon takes the carry on second down, and just immediate pressure there from the Panthers. Terrence MacArthur and Jeremy Santiago combining for the tackle. Might have lost a yard on that one.
Yeah, they were. The Panther defense was able to get into the backfield pretty readily there, which blew that play up a little more quickly than I think the Red Raiders would preferred. Thus far, having difficulty having the time to set up these plays. Dan, the O-line is going to have to hold a little bit more, give the quarterback and the skill players a little opportunity to make things happen.
That's been one of the biggest challenges for the Raiders this year, is that the O-line has had trouble really matching up. And Bolak immediately has to scramble. There comes MacArthur coming on that side. He gets the throw off. It makes that catch on the far side of the field. And a flag comes in. I think the hands got a little high there as they find Harvey Early on the far side.
Great play there. That looked like a pending disaster. You'll see on the replay here. Bolak was rolling right, and I don't know if he knew that he had big number 56 chasing him, but he was able to get it away.
Face mask, defense, number 9.
And they're going to add a number of yards here as well. It's probably 15 in high school as it is in college, I would assume, Dan?
They have a 5 and a 15-yard face mask in high school. And so I have to see how they're going to mark it off to see if it's going to be the 5 or the 15. It's going to be the 15.
Well, real nice positive play there for the Red Raiders. Again, they turned what could have been a disaster into a real positive play. Well done by quarterback Bolak there.
Bolak has the ability to scramble and the ability to get himself open. That play went to the Panther 39-yard line before the face mask, which will bring it to the 24-yard line. On 1st and 10. DeLeon takes the carry, goes to the left hash marks. 4 Panthers there to wrap them up. But it'll be a gain of a couple of yards on first down at the very least.
Bit of a high snap there. Bolak was able to bring that one down and complete the handoff effectively. May have gotten that play just a bit out of sync, but again, the defenders were there pretty readily on the left side of the offensive line.
All right, so that goes to the 32-yard line. Can you tell I misread the lines?
I totally missed that, Dan.
Yep, I ended up misreading the lines, so the previous play only went to the 49-yard line and then to the 34. And I'm also trying to stat the game at the same time, so.
Very impressive. 2nd and 8 for the Red Raiders.
Bolak, quick throw out right side, a bit off the mark, but finds Stephen Bate anyway. Bate able to find some room to move forward, and he's going to have enough for the first down.
Another nice little passing play for the Red Raiders. It's interesting, the Panthers ran entirely or exclusively running first possession, and the Raiders have not been afraid to put it into the air here. Bolak has connected on the passes that he's thrown thus far.
15-yard pass to Harvey Early, setting up the first down, and then from there, after the DeLeon carry, 8 yards to Stephen Bate, another first down for the Red Raiders. Now inside the Panther 25-yard line with 2:30 and counting to go in the first quarter of play. The Red Raiders trying to respond after an opening drive touchdown by Marlborough, but we have whistles right on the snap.
There was some movement on the line, Dan. Difficult to tell who moved and who they got. We're about to hear from the mic'd up referee, however, here at Crocker Field, who the offender was.
Gets the call from the near sideline official.
False start, offense.
False start against the Raiders will back them up 5 yards.
Took me a couple of penalty calls, Dan, to realize we do not call numbers of the offender in high school football. Is that correct?
It is definitely down to referees' personal preference.
Oh, it is?
Even more so considering that very few high school football facilities have the accommodation to mic up the referee.
Got it.
I know there are a couple who work both high school and college who do use numbers.
Oh, okay. So it's not a rule necessarily to either call a number or not call a number?
It's one of those things I don't think the NFHS thinks too deeply about it because it's so rarely an instance that it happens. That throw incomplete as it's a little high for DeHarian Wells, off of his fingertips and nearly snared out by one of the Panthers. Just couldn't get to the ball quickly enough.
Yeah, that was a bit of a dangerous pass there. A little bit up for the Fitchburg receiver. You had two defenders who were more than available in that area to take that pass, and it probably would have gone the other way for 6 had it gone that way. So a little bit of good fortune there for the Red Raiders that did not turn out worse. Number 13 there. Oh, Brandon Alfaro. He's everywhere on the field. He had a legitimate shot at a pick there, just a little bit too far. More movement up front, Dan. Several defenders crossed the line. Tough to tell if they were drawn or not.
Encroachment. Defense.
So they were drawn that time, so that balanced out.
So Red Raiders will pick up an easy 5 there. They'll get that 5 back from the earlier false start. Red Raiders are moving the ball. Looks like they're going to set up a 2nd and 10, assuming the chain and the box is correct there. They are currently at the 23 and a half yard line of the Panthers.
1:52 to go in the first quarter, 7-0 Marlborough. The Raiders on their first drive of the contest. And Bolak's going to take it himself on the option, try to run it up the middle, but there's half of the Panthers' defense rounded down to get in his way. Knocks it down at the 21-yard line.
Yeah, he managed to pick up a couple. It was a hard run, but yeah, found half the line and several linebackers when he got through the line there. Tough to make a lot of yardage that way.
If the last time that we saw the Red Raiders 2 weeks ago, Luke Bolak ran for over 150 yards in that contest. He was the most dynamic running back the Raiders had at their disposal. They were also without Devani DeLeon. He's back in the lineup tonight.
Well, it's not uncommon that you hear the name Bolak and the term dynamic together in a sentence here in Central Massachusetts, Dan.
It's like probably true, although not out of my own mouth at least. Under a minute to go in the first quarter, 7-0 Marlborough. Early going a little bit in motion. We'll get the snap off. Some appeals for penalties, none given. Throw out to the near side. It was caught by Joshua Nardi. And then he stepped out of bounds.
But not before, Dan. It appears he had sufficient yardage for the first down. That was a great catch. Unfortunately, he did step out of bounds, but he received it in bounds. And the Red Raiders have another first down, 1st and 10 from the Panther 13.
Just from the perspective, there's some thoughts like, was that picked? But no, just Nardi just snared it away, and he pulled the ball in and then just almost simultaneously stepping on the sideline. It's very interesting.
Or no, the knee. I see it.
Oh, his knee was down.
Actually, yes.
That's what it was.
Yep, he didn't step out, but the knee did hit the turf there to end that play.
That makes far more sense.
Great work by the folks in the replay truck at FATV, as always, to pick that up.
No question about it. 1st and 10. It's going to be DeLeon trying to burst through the line, nearly into the second level, past the 10-yard line. Had to slip past a few Panthers, but a solid run on first down.
Yeah, pickup of about 6, and that's the end of the first quarter here, Dan.
So that was a pretty quick 12 minutes. Both teams keeping on the ground. We only saw 1 or 2 incomplete passes. It was a pretty efficient run of offense for both sides, and at 1 quarter time, it's 7-0 Marlborough in front.
Looks like we've got a competitive football game here, Dan, which I'm sure everyone here at Crocker is excited to see. Maybe not the Marlborough fans who are, well, it looks like they travel well. Good crowd there across the way in the visitor stands. You were right. You told me that the high school games tend to move a little more quickly than the college games, and yeah, that first quarter was over seemingly before it started. Thanks for the heads up on that, Dan.
Yeah, no question about it. So while we have a moment, we'd like to thank our wonderful crew that helps put together this broadcast. So Nate Glennie is our director. Technical director is Robin Como. Travis Falk on audio graphics and just about everything else in the truck. Replay is Caitlin Mobilia. On top of the press box tonight are Andrew Govin and Jared Roberts. And at field level, we have some Fitchburg State University students in Derek Tyrell, Dylan O'Brien, Jesus Tavares Diaz, and Tyler Sargent. We thank them all for the assistance tonight, because we could not have such a good broadcast without our wonderful volunteers. excuse me, some students from Longjo Middle School.
Oh, outstanding, outstanding.
Involved in that as well. So
I'm enjoying some of the camera shots that the cams from FAT are providing here on a what's turning out to be a cool night. It felt like baseball weather about 3-4 years ago, and it is rapidly turning into football weather now.
Indeed, game time temperature was about 63 degrees, but dropping into the 50s as we go on. So after the very long walk downfield, 2nd and 5 from the Marlborough 8-yard line's what I've got. As the Raiders on their first drive of the contest looking to answer on Marlborough's first drive that ended in a touchdown that took half the quarter, 10 plays and 64 yards. This one is 9 plays, 55 yards. Still going. Bolak takes it himself going up the middle. Marlborough not fooled, and they're only going to get about a yard on that one.
Yeah, there wasn't much there, Dan. Looked like there was an opportunity for that play to set up nicely, but that hole closed incredibly quickly there for Bolak.
He's got his own dynamic abilities to run with the football, but yes, the hole just closes up very quickly, and only about a yard gained for Luke Bolak on 2nd and 5. He's got 2 carries for 3 yards. Raiders mainly running out of the air right now, 4 catches for 32 yards amongst 4 different receivers.
Looks like another stoppage here, Dan. Timeout for the Red Raiders.
First timeout of the night with 11:32 to go in the second quarter of play, the first half of play, if you will. And it's Marlborough 7 and Fitchburg nothing.
So Dan, it's been a while since I've seen a high school band, but I was noticing during the pregame there was both an electric bass and electric guitar player, but I didn't see wires and I didn't see amplifiers, and Dan, I'm looking for answers. What's the story there?
I know they've got some wireless pickups that exist.
Really?
I don't know where the amps are hiding, but you don't have to have the wires there.
So they make electric guitars with wireless pickups now that can broadcast like over Wi-Fi, and as long as the amplifiers are somewhere here at Crocker Field, you can get that?
I believe you can broadcast over a radio frequency. I believe Geddy Lee used to use one of those. He could actually hook it up directly into the PA system at the concert venues.
So Geddy Lee, Dan, nice Rush reference. Love that. Love anyone who can make the classic rock references. Nice job, Geddy Lee. All right, with that distinctive voice. You remember Geddy Lee's voice?
Indeed. What a tremendous band Rush is. Now third down, excuse me.
Another stoppage there, Dan. Something looked not exactly right. I think they're going to get the offense here for a false start or a procedure call.
False start, offense.
So another penalty against the Red Raiders will back them up to the 12-yard line, and it'll bring up a 3rd and a long.
Unfortunate. You hate to see that coming out of a timeout, certainly, but it is what it is. Raiders do continue to have it in the red zone, so to speak, or very close to the red zone. So there's an opportunity here for points. 3rd and about 9, would you say, Dan?
Yeah, that sounds right to me. 3rd down, 9 to go, 12 yards from goal are the Red Raiders on this long drive. 10 plays, 51 yards, and still running. It's going to be a longer drive than Marlborough's drive was to open this contest. Could only be a precious few opportunities to control the football between these two sides. Got to make the most of each drive. Bolak with the snap. Under a lot of pressure, is not going to be able to get a pass off. And it's that dynamic duo for Marlborough stepping up there. Terrence MacArthur and Jeremy Santiago combining for the sack.
Yeah, that was a tough hit there. Both of them combined to take Bolak down. Probably about a, oh my goodness, 15-yard loss, Dan. Going to make a tricky 4th down here. I'm going to guess that this is outside the field goal range of the Red Raider kicker.
It probably is. It's very much a luxury if you've got a field goal kicker who can kick 40 yards.
Yeah.
Down at the, looks like the 23-yard line, 11-yard loss on the sack. That was the 2nd of the year for MacArthur, although he'll get half a sack for that. Him and Jeremy Santiago combining. Raiders can still get a 1st down. They've got to get the ball to the 3-yard line. But really, it's just going to be a matter of get as many yards as you can. And worse, I mean, as long as you get a good pass off, there is a flag on the play. A throw is incomplete over the head of Nardi.
There was some movement early in this one. They did not stop the play, which is, potentially good news for Red Raider fans, but something was amiss.
We have 5 in the backfield. Offense, penalties declined.
There are unfortunately no free plays in the NFHS rulebook, so the penalty was because the Raiders did not have enough on the line of scrimmage. So they needed a completion, really, if anything, just to prevent Marlborough from getting the ball where they got it. And so
cause for optimism, though, Dan. We, on paper, this is going to be a tough matchup for the Red Raiders, but that initial offensive series for them was really impressive, if you ask me.
They had some pretty good plays, some pretty good results. Ultimately, some penalties did them in. At 9:50 to go in the first half of play, 1st down and 10 for Marlborough, and it's a run up to the far side. Gets some yards.
Ephraim Ganepo had a nice tackle there. Just made an immediate hit and hung on. Got a little help from his friends, so to speak, but really impressive tackle by Ganepo.
So it's Miguel Borges who takes the handoff, brings it to the 27-yard line, a gain of 4 on 1st down. Second down, 6 to go. Obviously, the Raiders going to have to find something. Well, there's a break. A bad handoff there by the quarterback in Michael Benway, trying to find Brandon Alfaro on the reverse. Ends up coughing up the football, and that's a loss of a down and some yardage for the Panthers back to the 20-yard line.
Yeah, Dan, I'm interested to see the replay here. Was it intended to go to Alfaro?
Yeah, I think it was, or maybe Benway wanted to pull it back for the option.
Yeah, but just put it a little too close to Alfaro, and it bounced out. So loss on the play, opportunity here for the Red Raider defense.
Brings it back to the 20-yard line. And so on 3rd down and a lot to gain, Marlborough will get that lot to gain and lose the football, but they're going to get on top of that one at the 40-yard line. Recovered there by Trevor Whitmore following on after Miguel Borges lost a handle on the football.
It was an explosive run there by Borges, however. Probably picked up, 20 yards before he was even touched, it seemed, Dan.
Yeah, brought it to the 40-yard line. A great run there by Borges. Just couldn't hold on to the ball at the end, but fortunately for him, a teammate picking that one up will keep that alive for the Panthers. On 1st and 10, driving up the middle, another 3-4 yards gained.
I'm looking for a number there, Dan. It was a pile of tacklers.
So that time it is Fernando Rodriguez, the junior running back, 5'9", 155, running that up the middle.
Pickup of about 5, so that's going to be a 2nd and 5 at the Panther 45.
And again, interesting to see Rodriguez move into that. We have not seen any of Nealon Stemple in the backfield tonight. He was one of the captains who was out on the field for the coin toss, but we haven't seen him on the offensive side of the ball. They've gone with Rodriguez as that number 2 running back option. Raiders have this one well read. This time, Devani DeLeon wrapping up Miguel Borges for a loss.
Yeah, there was just nothing there. Very late flag by the official. Official either saw or perhaps heard something that he didn't appreciate terribly much as the players were peeling off there. So we'll see what this official is about. Probably unsportsmanlike would be my guess.
Bad news for somebody.
Personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct, offense.
The bad news is to Marlborough. A minus 15 yards like that, and it's 3rd and quite a lot.
Hey, so the Red Raider defense has really stiffened here. Marlborough's making some mistakes. I don't know if that's characteristic or uncharacteristic of that Panther team, but opportunity here for the Red Raiders. 3rd down and close to 20, Dan. They could potentially, if they can get a stop here, get the ball back for the offense.
Words and or actions that were incompatible with good sportsmanship.
Yeah, that may have been words. I didn't necessarily see any violent actions as that play was ending, but it seemed like the referee and the man in the white hat was right on top of that to hear whatever was said between the young men.
So it was no gain on the 2nd down play. 3rd and 20. They got 20 on 3rd down last time. We finally see Nealon Stemple for the first time tonight, and he brings it to the 38-yard line, but that'll be nowhere near enough.
Yeah, pickup of about 7 for Stemple. It was a nice hard run, but certainly not as much as the Panthers needed. So 4th down, appears that they have brought the punting unit in. Also appears that Doharian Wells we'll set up deep for the Red Raiders. Maybe we get a return here, Dan.
Doharian Wells had a kickoff return for a touchdown that was called back against Shepherd Hill 2 weeks ago, and is very solid at running the football on these kick returns. It looks like Fitchburg will call their second timeout with 6:06 to go in the first half of play, with the score Marlborough 7 and Fitchburg nothing.
Dan, I'm trying to learn more about the scene here at Crocker Field. I'm noticing that the cheerleaders, and it's a fairly large cheerleading squad, some are wearing pink tutus, whereas some are not. Do we know anything about the pink tutus?
It might be, October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Okay.
And I do have a pink tie on, I will also note, because I know that it is Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Outstanding. So perhaps they're raising awareness, which we would certainly support.
No question about it. And you mentioned the bands earlier today. One of the interesting observations, this comes from an article from the Metro West Daily News, Tim Dumas writing about this. 2 players on the Marlborough Panthers are also members of the school band, Kevin DeSena and Emerson Teixeira Ramos.
I saw that in the pregame. I was reading over some of your notes. Now, I assume that they don't perform during football season, but maybe participate after football season ends?
Actually, they do perform.
Do they really?
They will. In fact, last week against Grafton was their homecoming, and they actually went straight from they went straight off the field and right into the band. They actually performed in uniform.
Oh, no kidding. That's really awesome. Very cool.
Tremendous to see. And it's like, yes, between band and football, why not both?
Yeah, love high school football and love high school marching bands. Dan, I don't like to brag. I was a trombonist in the high school marching band. So for those of you who are less inclined to listen to me, Dan and I reminisce about high school band work. That was a punt. It was downed by Kevin DeSena of the Panthers. It's Fitchburg is going to set up a 1st and 10 at their own 35, about 5:54 to begin this particular drive.
And yeah, so downed by one of those band members, as I was just talking about.
It's all coming together, Dan.
Perfect timing. How about that? 1st down and 10. Run up the middle, gets back to the line of scrimmage. That's about all. Devani DeLeon with the carry.
Yeah, tough running tonight thus far for Fitchburg. They went to the air very early and reasonably frequently in that first offensive series. You would hope that would loosen up the defensive line, maybe spread things out a little bit, but that Panther defensive line is stout. There are some large young men on that line. Offensive line thus far is having a little bit of trouble opening up holes for those running backs.
No gain on 1st down for DeLeon. So we're past the halfway point in the second quarter of play. Second drive of the contest for the Raider offense. Yes, the running game has had some challenges. Bolak fakes the handoff, gets it out to Harvey early for the completion, trying to spin out of the tackle. Eventually, all that the Panthers can do is spin him out of bounds.
Gain of about 7, though, on that play, Dan. So the passing game is working. There's some positive yardage coming. Going to set up about a 3rd and long 3, short 4 for the Red Raider offense, and they're moving quickly now, Dan.
Javian Hertas had the spin out of bounds there. Quick moving indeed, and right up the middle, Raiders are going to get a 1st down as it's down around the 47-yard line. That was DeLeon who was able to get that run up the middle.
That was a great run there by DeLeon. He gains about 6. And again, Fitchburg is now moving the ball. I was going to say, let's look at that on the replay, but we may not get that opportunity.
I was still trying to enter in the previous play. I didn't even have a chance to see what happened there.
Looks like, yeah, Marlborough just called a timeout. Maybe they need to regroup a bit.
They could sense that they needed a breath. Maybe I needed a breath. Everybody needs a breath.
Hey, everyone needs a breath now and again, Dan.
4:56 to go. First half of play. It's Marlborough 7 and Fitchburg nothing, but the Raiders on a solid drive thus far. We'll have a look at the stats and see how it's all rolling right now, as I do just have to click a couple of buttons here to ensure that everything is all on the up and up. So Marlborough is on 16 plays for 89 yards, exclusively on the ground the Panthers are running. You see that full moon on the rise tonight. Meanwhile, Fitchburg, 15 plays for 17 yards is what I have them written down as, which feels very wrong, but maybe, they did lose some yards on some of those plays going awry, with penalties and the like.
Looks like we're ready to get back to action now, Dan. 1st and 10 for the Red Raider offense.
Quick throw out to the left side is caught by Doharian Wells. Now he's going to cut back to the middle of the field to find some space to run. Ran a long distance, got it across midfield, just trying to find the openings, just trying to outrun the Panthers. Gets it to the Marlborough 48-yard line, 4-yard gain.
That was all Doharian Wells. That was a great run after the catch. Again, Fitchburg lining up quickly, no huddle, and we're going to get right back to action here, Dan.
Ball at the 48 and on 2nd down and 6 to go. A run up the middle, but well diagnosed by Marlborough.
Late flag came in there from well in the defensive secondary. We'll see what happens here.
Now even more tomfoolery happening there.
Yeah, it looks like some frustration on the part of some of the Red Raiders. This, at least one of these may cost the Red Raiders some yardage. And an additional flag now coming down, Dan.
Unlimited penalty works developing at Crocker Field. Not ideal.
Personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 54. Personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 54. Personal foul, unsportsmanlike conduct, number 5.
All right, Dan.
So there were 3 unsportsmanlike conduct penalties.
2, the first 2, on the same player, which is curious. You don't see that happen very frequently. So something must have been said repeatedly. Now, all of those will be enforced, Dan?
That would be a net of -15 for the Raiders, I would presume, unless they... That was very interesting, is what that was.
My concern would be a loss of 45 yards if they're going to do 15 yards for each unsportsmanlike. Oh, my goodness.
They are backing them up and backing them up and backing them up.
Yeah, that's just an unfortunate sequence there, Dan. I don't know what happened, what was said, what was done, but it appears that someone lost their cool just a little bit on the Fitchburg side.
They ended up enforcing 2 penalties against the Raiders because they backed it all the way up to the Marlborough, from the Marlborough 49 to the Raiders' own 21-yard line. And so Bolak on 3rd and 1,000,000 just throws it incomplete for Hurley.
So your regular broadcast partner, if I'm not mistaken, would have something particularly clever to say when you've got 3rd down and somewhere around 40 yards. He might have done a 3rd down in Leominster or a 3rd down in Lunenburg. Does that sound about right, Dan?
When you get to 40 yards, you have to go much farther than just Gardner or Ayer. You've got to go to Templeton, I think. You might even be in Athol at that point.
Well, John Gugerty, if you're listening, we miss you. We could have used you there and your knowledge of local geography to help us out. 4th and very, very long here, and the Red Raiders have their punting unit out.
Googs is in fact listening. He did let me know. He, of course, wants to. Oh, that's just stupid. That's what that is.
Yeah, another mistake by the Red Raiders. Clearly did not give that the receiver an opportunity to catch that ball. It's unclear if he made the fair catch signal. 2 more flags. Really, guys are losing their cool right now. Referees are going to need to step in here, restore a little bit of order. Coaches are going to need to step in and restore some order here as well. Yep. I have a feeling that at least several of these flags are going to be penalties against the Red Raiders.
Yep, so let's just rewind for a moment. So we had the couple of unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, ultimately 30 yards marched off against the Raiders for what happened there. There was the incomplete pass after that, and then on that last exchange, you cannot tackle, you can't even touch the kick returner until he's had a chance to field the football. And so that's an obvious and immediate penalty. And then from there, it just goes all downhill. There are 4 yellow handkerchiefs on the field, which is at least 4 too many for any type of game, but for any circumstance, that is just not what you want to see at all.
Yeah, I'm looking at the replay now, Dan, and yeah, indefensible, as you say. Went in and laid a hit. The ball was still several yards away. It wasn't even close to being caught yet. You wonder if maybe some of these penalties are also against Marlborough for some retaliation.
Kick catch interference. Kicking team. Unsportsmanlike foul. Kicking team.
So it looks like they're going to charge 2 penalties against the Red Raiders, and I would believe that Marlborough is going to get the football, well, from where they spot it and then march off 30 yards again. And so that would be the 15-yard line, it looks like.
Oh, my goodness. So unfortunately, things coming off the rails just a little bit here in this second quarter for the Red Raiders. Hopefully they can regroup. This is very much a football game, Dan, so you hate to see these sort of careless, dare I say, foolish penalties taking place. This is a 7-0 ball game here at Crocker Field, and the Red Raiders are in this game and giving up, I don't know, somewhere in the 75 yards in the past couple of sequences of penalty yards is not going to help the Fitchburg cause here.
They have 75 yards of penalties in this contest, and that is far too much, to say the least.
Is Gugerty able to add up the penalty yards as quickly as I am? I know he's better with geography, but I have to bring something to the table, Dan.
By the way, he did inform us 3rd and 40 is 3rd and Lowell.
3rd and Lowell, okay, excellent.
Yeah, like I said, you have to go a distance, and so Marlborough gifted red zone possession on that. If the Raiders had just taken a knee on 3rd and 40, it would have actually turned out better than what it ended up being. That's just how damaging those penalties were.
Indeed. So looks like a pickup of maybe 3 yards on that initial carry there of this sequence. That would have been Rodriguez, the ball carrier there. So a little more red zone offense here as the Panthers look at a 2nd and 7.
In great position, under 4 minutes to go in the first half of play. Run out to the right side. Borges gets to the 10-yard line, and that's about as far as he can get. The Raiders, there's solid defense to stop him there.
You know, and I'll give the Red Raiders credit. There was a span of a couple of minutes there where the penalty flags were flying and tempers were getting very uncool very quickly, and they seem to really have regrouped, and they're playing football again, which is admirable.
And as we mentioned, this is a competitive football game between these two teams. It is just a 7-0 football game. The Raiders have been on the wrong end of some bad score lines this season, but right now, I mean, there's been some frustration. The crazy thing was in the first 2 weeks, there was very little penalties to speak of.
Interesting.
But it's just been in recent weeks that it's gone awry, and that looked like an issue with the man in motion, although maybe it could have been offside. Alfaro
appears to me to be offside.
Defense.
Yeah. So they're going to march off 5. That's probably going to be sufficient to give the Panthers a first down
I
here.
felt like I saw maybe Alfaro start moving a little forward. He stumbled there, and that might have drawn them, but they called the encroachment instead. They felt that even with the stumble, Alfaro was clean.
Yeah. Sometimes when that defensive lineman makes contact with an offensive lineman, it seems like more often than not that flag goes against the defense.
That's more noticeable, so not a lot to gain here. They're at the 5-yard line, and a rugby maul trying to get ever closer to the goal line. Raiders will keep them out on this try.
Hard to see down that side of the field, Dan. Looks like a gain of, well, maybe 2 or 3. Looks like they will set up a 2nd and goal from about the 3-yard line.
Who had the carry on that one?
Dan, I wish I could tell you. It's a little further away, down in the corner of that field, and it was indeed a scrum. I could not get the ball carrier. This time, however, I have the ball carrier, Dan. That's going to be Rodriguez, the ball carrier, and he's going to run it in for a touchdown.
There's the call indeed.
So a 3-yard touchdown rush for the junior running back and sometimes defensive back Fernando Rodriguez for the Marlborough Panthers brings the score to 13-0 pending this extra point attempt.
And for a player who had not had a statted run in the first 4 weeks of the season, immediately stepping into the backfield and running the ball quite well is Rodriguez.
I agree.
And he's got a touchdown to his credit.
Agreed. So Alfaro in. Again, strong leg from that young man.
Yep, no doubt about that one.
Easily through the uprights there. Very impressive kick again from senior Brandon Alfaro.
So 1:28 to go in the first half of play. Marlborough leads by a score of 14-0, but I guess you could say the story right now in this contest is going to be the penalties. The Raiders have taken 80 yards of penalties. I can tell you the Raiders, they were doing way better on offense than I was giving them credit for. You accidentally set one thing wrong in the stat software, and it starts thinking that they're going backwards.
Yeah. Yep.
And so right now, I've got Marlborough is just 99 yards of offense. They only had to go 15 yards for that last one, and yeah, I still have issues. I'm going to have to fix that at halftime, so I'm not going to give you any more numbers because I think most of them are wrong at the moment. I can tell you Miguel Borges has 11 carries for 64 yards. He's definitely leading the charge for the Panthers. They have yet to throw the football.
I was just about to say, Dan, I don't recall a pass attempt by the Panthers.
They haven't needed to, and as we've mentioned, they are without their starting quarterback in Jason Nollenberg, out with injury, so they've had to go to the number 2 in Michael Benway. He's the only other player on the roster even listed as a quarterback, from what I could tell, at least from the roster I put together. The roster you have is probably different and probably more correct, too. But a solid line drive kick taken at the 15-yard line by Doharian Wells. He's looking for somewhere to go, tries to double back again, but this time he's not going to be able to escape the grasp of Tyler Moore.
Yeah, Wells was patiently looking for blocks upfield and made a couple of nice cuts there, but the kickoff coverage for the Panthers was really strong there. So Red Raider offense back to the field. Looks like they'll have a 1st and 10 at about their own 24-yard line, Dan.
They have 77 seconds to work with. They have 1 timeout to work with as well.
So Dan, tell me about this Red Raider offense. Can they move the ball that kind of yardage in 1:17? Do they have the firepower?
They have to do it through the air.
Yep.
That's the least I can tell you right now.
Yep.
But can they do it? Well, we could find out. Then again, Luke Bolak does have an 85-yard touchdown run on his record. But I have to imagine it's going to be mainly through the air. Bolak looking to throw on the near side.
Oh.
And 3 players going for that football. Nobody comes up with it. Stephen Bate, the intended receiver, as Alfaro and Rodriguez were there to knock that one away.
Yeah, crowd sort of groaned there when that hit was laid on Bate. That was a particularly violent, low legal football hit, but you'll see it on the replay here. You always cringe a little bit. You hope that player gets up, and Bate did. He got up immediately, but that was a very, very hard hit from a couple of players.
Just the collision going for the football. You see Alfaro on the left and Rodriguez on the right.
Seems like Alfaro plays every position on the football field. We're calling his name a lot tonight, Dan.
He seems to be just about everywhere. He's a contributor on offense, on defense, on special teams. He very much is everywhere and doing just about everything for this Panther side. 2nd and 10.
Uh-oh.
That's a jump ball, and that is going to be intercepted into the hands of Jack DeZotel.
Yeah, that was a tough one. That was sort of a jump ball there. Could have easily gone to the offensive player, just as easily gone to the defensive player. That time it goes to the defensive player. Now the Red Raiders have a different sort of problem on their hands. It's not so much can they move the ball in 1:17. It's can they keep the Panther offense out of the end zone in 1:03.
So jump ball on the pass. They were looking for Harvey Early. But Jack DeZotel will step into that one and pull that out of the air, brings it to the 24-yard line.
So Panther offense has 1:03 to move the ball 24 yards, unless, of course, they wanted to go for a field goal from Alfaro's strong leg.
We'll see, and they're going to go for a pass on 1st down. Going for the long shot, and they've got it. Touchdown, Panthers.
Wow, that was quite a play. And a little bit demoralizing, you'd have to think, for the Red Raiders and the Red Raider faithful. After that quick turnover, 1 play, end zone, beautiful pass and catch from the Panthers.
I want to take a look at this replay just because I want to double check who was the one who brought this one in. First pass attempt of the night.
Alfaro.
Was that Alfaro?
I think it was Brandon Alfaro yet again.
That's what I thought. And
Personal foul, defense roughing the passer will be assessed on the kickoff.
Tough one.
And so the Panthers will be kicking off from the Raider 45-yard line.
Brandon Alfaro is very quickly becoming a sponsor of tonight's FATV broadcast. He's getting an awful lot of airtime, Dan.
No question about it. And now he's going to try to kick his own extra point. Snap down, kick is up, and it's just routine for the senior everyman getting the extra point, adding on to his account. 57.3 to go in the first half. And suddenly Marlborough's decided they don't like it being a close game anymore. They've made it a little more lopsided, 21-0 to the Panthers.
I'm not going to count the Red Raiders out yet, Dan. I think they've been playing well. That series that was loaded with penalties was really problematic, let's be honest. It was a 7-0 game approximately a minute and a half ago. And then a sequence of events occurred, helped along by penalties, that have the Marlborough team pulling ahead here. But Red Raiders have been playing tough. I think we can see some quality football in the second half. And I think this Fitchburg team can continue to be competitive tonight.
Now,
Dan, I appreciated your reference earlier to the full moon rising. You know, we were talking about Rush earlier in the evening and Geddy Lee. Of course, I think you were going for a little play on words with the Bad Moon Rising, the classic Creedence Clearwater tune. Was that accurate?
Yes, it was.
All right, I feel you, Dan. I got you over here.
And so from the 45-yard line, this will be booted through, picked up at the 5 by Doharian Wells. He tries to shake off this grasp of Moore, but for the second straight kick return, Moore brings down Wells.
Boy, that's a great tackle by Moore, too. Open field, had no help around him. He stood up. Who was it, De Leon? I'm sorry, I missed that on the run back.
Doharian Wells.
Oh, Doharian Wells stood him up and just and brought him down with any help from his other team. Excellent tackling technique from the defender there.
And so the Raiders dig themselves into a deeper hole from their own 15-yard line. If you thought 70 yards in just over a minute was tough enough, how about 85 yards in 51 seconds?
Well, and Dan, you wonder the wisdom here of maybe just a couple of simple runs into the line and get into the locker room at halftime and regroup.
Red Raiders do start with the football to start the second half. It is a run up the middle on first down for Devani DeLeon. A solid run, gets about 7 yards.
Hey, so is John Gugerty able to predict plays like that? I just predicted the play, Dan. Can Gugerty do that or no?
You can do that every now and again.
Can he? All right.
He's got some solid calls in him.
Oh, he has some legendary calls in him. You know, I've heard you two over at Fitchburg State on a number of occasions, and I'm sitting about 6 seats down, very much enjoying the action. But yeah, the professional wrestling references I can't keep up with, but you know, I'll try.
We do our best. Second down, and not a whole lot to go. DeLeon will be wrapped up behind the line of scrimmage. Well, maybe actually gets a few yards. It's not really going to matter because time is going to expire anyway. Give him the 25. We'll just give him the first down and call this half good is what we will do. It is halftime at historic Crocker Field, and the Red Raiders trail the Panthers of Marlborough 21-0, but this felt like it was less. Marlborough's made some plays. They've done very well for themselves, but it really felt more like Fitchburg was beating themselves, especially with the penalties. They now have 95 penalty yards.
Yeah, you know what? I don't know that the score here, Dan, is an especially accurate representation of the quality of play that we saw on the field. There were some challenging penalties, some really foolish penalties that took place. This has been a far more competitive game thus far than the scoreboard might indicate.
Yes, that's definitely the case. In fact, you know, with less than 2 minutes to go in this first half, it was 7-0, but we saw the foolish penalties break up a drive, then result in Marlborough being gifted tremendous field position. It didn't take them much time to respond, and then after the interception, just one pass, the only pass that Marlborough has attempted all night.
It was a beauty, though, wasn't it?
It was. I mean, all to perfection. Sean Mahoney's side having a grand old time here in Fitchburg as they lead 21-0 at the half. We'll take the break, let you listen in to the Fitchburg High School Band, and we'll be back with the second half of action here on FATV.
The Fitchburg High School marching band playing a melody of music, the Asian SPO. Very well.
As the foliage continues to fly here at historic Crocker Field, a tremendous halftime performance by the Fitchburg High School Marching Band. And just like that, we're just about ready for the start of this second half. It's going to be one of the shortest half times I think we've seen in some time.
Yeah, there's some exciting moments there where the teams returned to the field, and the band clearly had not finished their routine. Bravo to that band, by the way, and much love to that sousaphone player who was playing that sousaphone loud and clear, and it was really impressive. That was the Asian Espionage Show, Dan, in case you were wondering.
Indeed, you know, they put 10 minutes on the clock, and the band decided they were going to use all 10 of those minutes. And so the teams are already right back on the field and ready to play here in this second half of play. 21-0 Marlborough in front. Daniel Bolak, Dr. Robert Hines with you here tonight.
Dan, what would you say the story of the first half was for you?
Penalties.
Yep.
All I saw was penalties. 95 penalty yards against the Raiders in the first half.
Yep.
That's not going to win you football games, and that really they basically gifted Marlborough that second touchdown on those penalties.
Yep.
And so the kickoff from Alfaro, taken in at the 14-yard line on the far side by Doharian Wells. Try to cut up the middle, but three of the Panthers there to combine for the tackle. Give credit to all of Fernando Rodriguez, to Eddie Rivera, and Patrick Haviland.
Yeah, not a bad return there for Wells. Gives the offense an opportunity to start with reasonable field position. It looks like the Red Raiders are going to get going at about their own 28-yard line for this drive. Let's hope they were able to sort of collect themselves at halftime, and the second half here will be at times a little more disciplined than what we saw in the first. Those penalties were just totally changed the complexion of the first half.
I would imagine head coach Greg Gramble had some words for his side, and most notably, don't use any of George Carlin's 7 dirty words out on the field. I think that's going to get you in trouble.
That's good advice always.
First down, run up the middle by Devani DeLeon will get to about the 32-yard line. A plunge up the middle gets about 4 on first down.
Yeah, it looked like MacArthur had the hit there for the defense. Gain of about 3 or so. 2nd and 7 for the Red Raiders, who have elected to start on the ground.
Yeah, first play from scrimmage last on the first play of the first half was a pass for the Raiders. This time they start with the run by DeLeon, working him into the offense. Second down, cuts out to the left side, to the near side flank, tries to find some space, found a good chunk of space. He's going to get to just around the 38-yard line. Pretty close to a first down if he doesn't already have it.
Yeah, it's going to be close. I wonder, I believe based on this spot, they are going to move the chains, Dan.
And
they're going to credit the Red Raiders a first down here.
Gave them the 39-yard line, and that is very much good enough.
So Red Raiders offense, 1st and 10 from their own 39. Couple of runs to start this second half of action. As Dan mentioned, we see flowing foliage coming down from the sky, really setting a nice autumn tone here at Crocker Field.
Yep, New England is beautiful in the fall. It's DeLeon again, cutting out far side, and just tripped up a little bit there. If it wasn't for the outstretched hand there of Kevin DeSena, then it could have been a good chunk of yards there for DeLeon. He's just going to be happy with what he has to be happy with.
Yeah, and he broke that initial tackle, which was real impressive. Managed to get about 3 yards on the run, but here you see on the replay that it was indeed that the fingertip tackle there from the outstretched hand of DeSena that brought him down.
As we continue to honor our bands, basically. DeSena, the member of the Marlborough band. Although tonight, the Marlborough band, I think they play home games mostly, but we saw the Fitchburg band with a tremendous performance, and on second down, it was DeLeon up the middle, not a whole lot this time.
Looks like a no-gain play, Dan. Going to bring up a 3rd and 7.
Indeed, and so Fitchburg on the night, 7 first downs. Marlborough has 8. 2 of their touchdown drives, they were gifted with field position inside the Fitchburg 25-yard line. The Raiders are 3 for 5 on 3rd down tonight. And one of those 3rd downs they didn't convert, they needed officially 37 to gain. Bolak throws right side. It's going to be caught, but it's not going to be enough for a first down as the Raiders immediately on the spot.
They gave the receiver quite a bit of cushion there, and so there was an easy 5-yard pickup, but the defenders immediately converged to knock him back. Interesting decision here, Dan. They are at their own 47. It's a 3-touchdown game at present. Do the Red Raiders decide to keep the ball and maybe try to pick up the 3 here to keep the chains moving?
They have to get to the 49-yard line for a first. Looks like it's just 2 yards to gain. They put it on the 47. They are going to keep the offense on the field. I think it's the right decision. At this point, you're down by 21. What do you have to lose? 8:50 to go in the 3rd quarter. They will try to plunge it up the middle.
Nope.
The hole they were looking for never arrived,
Yep.
and Marlborough will have the ball. No gain on the run from Devani DeLeon.
I agree with you, Dan. I think it's a good decision at midfield. You see if you can pick up those 3 yards down by 3 scores like that. But, yeah, that defensive line of Marlborough has been stout all night. They proved stout on that particular exchange, and now the Marlborough offense is going to be back to the field. And they've got the ball to start off in Fitchburg territory.
47 yards from goal are the Panthers. The last time we saw the offense on the field, it took just 1 play to find themselves 6 points in the extra. 2 in the backfield are Miguel Borges and Fernando Rodriguez. It is Rodriguez who takes it on first down, who just finds a lot of space in the 2nd level. Just a great pace there from the junior. Gets it to the 32-yard line.
Yeah, it was Malachi Marion who finally brought him down for the Red Raiders, but great run here. Did find a big hole, courtesy of the offensive line, but the runner was able to break several tackles on his own as well. 1st and 10 Panthers, setting up this next play from the 34 of the Red Raiders.
So 13-yard run on first down, 7 carries, 38 yards, and a touchdown for Fernando Rodriguez, who, as we mentioned, coming into the contest, had no carries on the campaign, according to the stats entered into the TNG. On this fresh set of downs, 1st and 10, Miguel Borges out to the left side of the line, gets it to the 31-yard line, give him 3.
Several Red Raider tacklers on that play, as you see the coaching staff exhorting the Red Raider defense. It looked like maybe Manny Encarnacion made the final hit there for the Red Raiders, but about a 2nd and 7 now for the Panthers.
Marlborough, very strong offense on the campaign. They've put up some points this season. Looks like some bad line work.
Ball start, offense.
All right, well, that'll back the Panthers up 5.
For Marlborough, that is their 4th penalty committed on the night. That will take them to 40 yards of penalties.
Not sure what happened. I don't know if we have the replay on that one, but it must have been someone on the line. It wasn't the motion man. The motion man looked legal. I imagine someone on the line would have jumped there to account for this penalty.
So the man in motion and...
Yeah, maybe the right guard there for the offensive line moved a little bit early, it looked like. The referee threw that flag, and he would have had a pretty good view of that, you would assume.
Marlborough has scored just under 24 points a game, conceded just under 12 a game, and now backed up a little bit on 2nd down.
Not much there for the ball carrier. I'm trying to get the number there.
It was Rodriguez
It was
again.
Rodriguez, okay. Not much there. Red Raider defense was right on top of that. Maybe a very, very short gain on that play. It's always interesting. The quarterback for the Panthers seems to really hold that handoff. And you just saw it on the replay there for what seems to be an abnormally long period of time at times. Maybe his hand just got caught up in it. Looked a little dangerous there for a moment. Hopefully everyone's okay.
Michael Benway, the sophomore quarterback, maybe just trying to prolong the option and the misdirection as long as he can. On 3rd down, it's a run up the middle that won't get the first down, but it does get him back inside the 30-yard line. So the penalty more or less costing them what could have been a first down. It was Miguel Borges who has the run, who brings it to the 27, and they're not going to waste any time on this.
Immediately to the line now, the Panthers are going.
Make sure they're set. Alfaro goes in motion, and a Raider jumps across the neutral zone.
Yeah.
Encroachment. Defense.
You wonder if that was the plan all along, Dan, for that play. We haven't seen the Panthers necessarily run that hurry up, but you wonder if maybe they just wanted to get to the line and see if they could scare the offside penalty there by the hurry up.
And they succeeded in doing so, and
That
it really,
they did.
I think it's one of those things that's always been sort of a weakness in the Red Raiders. They are a bit jumpy. And that's not just, this season, but has been an issue in past seasons as well. That gets them to an even 100 yards of penalties, but it concedes a first down, which makes it all the more damaging.
Oh.
That's a very bad snap.
Looks like the offensive lineman was able to cover that up for the Panthers, Dan.
If it was Terrence MacArthur that was able to get back on top of that one, but that did not go to plan for Marlborough, and so they'll lose the first down on that.
And that was a curious one. I'm eager to see this replay here. Yeah, just trouble on the exchange. Maybe the center pulled away a little too early, unclear, but that was potential disaster for the Panther offensive line there.
Very interesting in how that developed. The ball on the 23-yard line after that. Second down, and it's Borges up the middle, wrapped up well there by the Red Raiders and Eli Gonzalez.
Pickup of about, I want to say 5 or 6 before all was said and done. Again, the initial burst through the line has been there for the Panther running game pretty much all night, Dan. The linebackers are filling in where they can, but that initial burst through the line seems like it's going to get you 4 yards, 5 yards, 6 yards every carry, and it's going to be tough to get the ball back and tighten up this game for the Red Raider defense, if indeed the Panther offensive line can continue to blow holes like that.
That's been the biggest thing, that Marlborough has been so good at keeping control of the ball. 6 to go, Borges up the middle again.
Going to be close to first down yardage here, Dan.
It might get
no indication yet.
If it's not first down, it's going to be very short to a first down. And they're going to say move the chains, and it'll be a first down indeed.
Initially, it looked like maybe they had brought up a fourth down, but the wise man in the white hat indicates that it was sufficient for a first down. 1st and 10, Panthers from about the 12-yard line.
7 plays, 35 yards on this drive. Again, Marlborough's only gone to the air once tonight. Got 6 points on that, and that was immediately after an interception to make it 21-0. 3:30 to go in the third quarter. Panthers lead by 3 touchdowns and 3 extra points. That's 21. That's blackjack, and that is a keeper there by Benway.
Not much, maybe a yard, Dan, if that.
It's an interesting call there. Benway calling his own number on the option. Got 9 yards the first time he did it. Got far less this time.
Yeah, no, that was definitely designed for Benway to keep it. Didn't look like the play broke up or anything in the backfield. It just was ineffective, and the Red Raiders were on it. Good for them.
The last time Benway was able to get 9 yards because he was able to escape to the near side of the field undetected, but this time, or to the far side, I guess I should say, he was able to get to the flank undetected and get some yardage, but that time, even if he'd given it to Borges on the initial carry, that wouldn't have worked out too well either. It's a pitch out to Borges, this time on the left side. Santiago trying to pull him down by the jersey, could not keep his grasp on it, and Borges continues to go out to the end zone. Touchdown, Panthers!
Going to be a 12-yard touchdown rush there for Miguel Borges. Is that his second on the evening, Dan? You have the stats, I do not.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And that's going to make it 27-0. And for Antonio Santiago, he had Borges by the grasp of the jersey. It may have torn away a little bit there. And yeah, it was tearing and stretching and just could not pull him down to the ground.
Yep.
And from there, Borges could not be stopped. Extra point is up. It is good. And it is 28-0 Marlborough in front. So Marlborough continuing to get that run game working for them. Only one drive that they've had to start in their own territory that they have scored on. 29 carries, 146 yards. That's on the ground, and then the one pass for 24 yards. So 30 plays, 170 yards. It's not explosive offense, but it's good enough. It's getting the job done, and more importantly, it's grinding the clock down, making a comeback all the more challenging for the Red Raiders.
Yeah, they're really controlling the game. And when you can control the line of scrimmage like that, and you control the ball like that, and you get your rushing game going, it really allows your team to control the game and makes it very, very difficult for the other team, particularly if you're in comeback mode.
Indeed. So the Raiders will come back out on the field.
So, Dan, what else do I need to know about historic Crocker Field? I'm more of an Elliott Field guy up at the university, and I don't get over here all the time. It's a beautiful venue for football. But what else do I need to know? Historical facts or things of that nature?
Well, 1918, I believe, was when it opened. It's a little over 100 years old.
Wow.
The stands on the right side that's in the corner was built with the idea of baseball in mind, as they used to play baseball here.
Oh, no kidding.
At Crocker Field. In fact, in the 20s, this field was in such a prime and pristine condition. Babe Ruth visited Crocker Field.
I did not know that.
And he asked, what professional ball team plays at this wonderful facility, as this is going to go in the end zone for a touchback? But he wasn't thinking, what team plays it, what professional team. This is a professional grade facility, he felt. And he was informed Fitchburg High School plays here.
No
That
kidding.
is their field. And of course, he was quite astounded by that, just thinking of, Babe Ruth. And of course, you think of Shohei Ohtani, who, as a tremendous two-way player, taking Ruth's mantle as the ultimate two-way player in baseball, and Aaron Judge, the American League single-season leader with 62 home runs this season.
Yeah. Were you watching any of that, Dan, the last week or so as he went for that record?
I was not, but it's still really interesting to watch, historic-wise as well.
Yeah.
Just great history in baseball this season. On first down, Bolak's going to keep it himself, get to the near side. Some great moves there by the junior quarterback, making his way to the 27-yard line.
Pickup of 7 there. He might have gotten a little bit dinged there on that play. Hopefully he's all right. There was a great fake to start with. I don't think many of the Panther players knew that Bolak had the ball there until quite late into the play. And then he made a couple of moves that really helped add about 5 yards to that play. Impressive run.
Bolak's got tremendous moves. He's the leading rusher for the Red Raiders this year. Out of the quarterback position, the junior second-year varsity player. We'll have it 2nd down, 3 to go.
Well, there was the the hard snap call. May have got him the 5 yards he wanted.
Encroachment.
Yep.
Defense.
I mean, how many times you see that clap, the emphaticness with the move,
yep.
And it got the man to jump. It was, Jeremy Santiago's had a pretty good night on defense for the Panthers, but he got caught out that time. 5-yard penalty, gets a first down to the Red Raiders.
I got to tell you, Dan, I have been very impressed with Luke Bolak's play tonight. I don't know what his percentage is through the air. I think he's hit basically every pass that he's thrown, maybe 1 or 2 incompletions, but really impressive night.
Indeed, and now he's going to run with it again on first down as he gets back to the line of scrimmage. It so looks like, or was that DeLeon with the kick?
No, I think Bolak kept it there himself. They're just, he didn't have a lot of blocking in front of him, unfortunately, on that particular play.
Just the offensive line getting overwhelmed, and it looks like he gets back to the line of scrimmage on that one. You see it on the replay there. And so Bolak, 7 of 12 through the air for 47 yards. Coming into tonight, his passing accuracy has not been there. It was over 60% last season. This year, it's been a little lower because he's had a little more challenge in trying to find the receivers.
And he also hasn't had a lot of time back there, and that can really impact some of your statistics as well.
Absolutely, even more damaging. Just don't have the time. Bolak's going to take it himself all the way out to the near side. Again, getting out of the grasps of Panthers. He gets to the 40-yard line.
Great run there by Luke Bolak again. Gain of probably close to almost 8 yards. Got a little bit of a helpful block early on there by Johnny L. Silvestri. But again, Luke Bolak more or less doing it himself. You had said that last week against St. John's, he led the team in rushing with a fairly substantial total, I think you said.
Yep, 2 weeks ago against Shepherd Hill. Last week against St.
Sorry.
John's, nobody wants to talk about how they did on offense that week. Not by choice, I can assure you. Nobody wanted to talk about it. Time about to run out here, and they're going to get the snap off just in time. A run up the middle. And it's going to come down to the spot, but I don't think it's going to be quite enough. It's going to bring up 4th and short, I think.
Yeah.
DeLeon on the carry.
Yeah, they're going to be short by probably a yard. Yeah, probably a yard short there, Dan. But as you said, the third quarter just came to an end, so they're going to have a quick minute to think about what their option is here. I would not be surprised if we see the Fitchburg Red Raiders stay on offense for this 4th down play here.
Indeed, so 3/4 time at historic Crocker Field. And the score 28-0 in favor of the Panthers of Marlborough. While we have a moment, we'd like to thank our underwriters who help make all of our remote broadcasts possible. They are Workers Credit Union, Rollstone Bank and Trust, UMass Memorial Health, Health Alliance Clinton Hospital, North End Subaru, Unitil, Minuteman Press, and the Sentinel and Enterprise. We thank them for all the support, and once again want to thank our wonderful crew. Nate Glennie is directing, Robin Como the technical director, Travis Falk on audio, graphics, and everything else in the truck, with Caitlin Mobilia providing replay, Andrew Govan and Jared Roberts on the top of the press box, Derek Terrell, Dylan O'Brien, Jesus Tavares Diaz, and Tyler Sargent are our field camera operators tonight.
I just have to tell you, Dan, that I have seen from afar how the FATV productions work over at Fitchburg State. Incredibly impressive to see it up close. So I appreciate getting to see the truck, seeing what goes into a broadcast. These are all volunteers, Dan, is that correct?
Most of us are volunteers.
Yep.
A couple of staffers. I'm a staffer myself.
Yep.
Travis is a staffer. Jared's a staff. Jared's on staff and will actually be leaving us in the coming days.
Oh, no kidding. Okay.
Moving on to bigger and better things. Our congratulations to Jared.
Yeah, impressive. Really impressive to see, though.
Yep. We may see Jared again in future, as on the 4th down, it's a quarterback keeper by Luke Bolak going up the middle. It looks like he'll have enough for a fresh set of downs.
Wow, I was skeptical there, Dan. I thought the defense had that one sniffed out, but just enough to cross that line. 1st down, Red Raiders. They remain in business, as they say.
Indeed.
Boy, that initial break through the line was sufficient. He got hit. He paid the price for it, but nice work by Luke Bolak.
Got through and keeps the drive going. Bolak officially 7 carries for 8 yards, but there are a couple of sacks to filter out of that, essentially. But he's been solid at getting yardage, especially in the last couple of drives, and that's a terrible snap over the head of Bolak. Gets on top of that one and eats it for a big loss.
Yeah, unfortunate. Just when the Red Raiders are starting to get a little momentum going, that 4th down conversion was excellent. They're going to lose probably close to 20 yards here, I would think, Dan.
I think they've spotted at the 29-yard line. It is a 14-yard loss.
All right, well, we'll see if the Red Raiders have some plays in the playbook to pick up some yardage here. Again, this has been a competitive game, Dan. The scoreboard, I think, belies what's actually gone on here. The Red Raiders have played tough. There was some problems in the 2nd quarter, primarily spurred on by penalties, but this Red Raider team has played well tonight.
I think they've had some good drives. They've had some good looks. Bolak can keep it himself after faking the handoff to De Leon. The line closes up after that, and Bolak ends up getting back to the line of scrimmage for a gain of nothing.
So 3rd and long now it'll bring up, and again you have to wonder, do the Red Raiders want to put it in the air and risk putting it in the air, or maybe keep it on the ground with Bolak or one of the backs.
And that looks like a challenging snap as well.
Yeah, agreed.
So that's not been making things any easier. 3rd down and 23 to go. As Early moves in motion to the near side. Bolak takes the snap, a good one this time, gets a throw off, and incomplete, trying to dive for that one on the far side. Not able to pull that one in. That was Nardi, who couldn't make the reception.
Well, 4th down. Looks like the punting unit's going to come in. Johnny El Silvestri looks like he's on to punt it away.
Indeed, and so just trying to get my stats sorted out.
Understood. And I was trying to get the number of the punt returner who is set deep. Could not get that. There is a flag down on this play. Great punt, but you don't know if it'll stand. Something happened early in that play, and we do have a bit of yellow on the field.
But I imagine such a penalty would go against the Red Raiders, and Brandon Alfaro looks like the man who's going to bring it all the way back for a provisional touchdown.
Yeah, very provisional here, Dan, because an additional penalty flag is now lying on the 40-yard line of the Panthers, and I think there was probably an illegal block, maybe a block in the back there that sprung Alfaro. I think this one is coming back. I don't know what the early flag was. That one could well have been against the Red Raiders, but I don't think this touchdown is going to stand.
Well, we'll find out. If it does stand, that's going to declare mercy, as it'll become a 30-point lead after three-quarter time. But the officials are going to talk about it. Referee Joe Teixeira and his crew coming to a decision.
Illegal substitution. Kicking team, blocking the back. Receiving team, gonna offset, gonna replay the down.
So on all of that, so the kick return is not going to count, offsetting penalties. And so a block in the back called. And I think you see it right there.
Did you get it, Dan? I was struggling to see it. I see the yellow flying on the field there.
Yep, I think it just a little farther back. It looks like it's right around here. I think it's pushed there. I think 25, 26 for the Red Raiders get shoved to the ground from behind on all of that.
Yep.
And so that's the block in the back. It was a legal substitution against the Raiders because the play continued on and there's no free plays essentially. That means that it's not going to be a defensive penalty generally for an infraction on the snap. And so because of the block in the back, it does give the Raiders the get-out-of-jail-free card, and so they do get another go at this one. Silvestri with another solid punt, as he'll take it in at the 31-yard line and not nearly as much success.
Yeah, great coverage there by the Fitchburg special teams there. Alfaro was not able to get more than a couple of yards on that return. So bravo, Fitchburg special teams. Looks like Panthers are going to start another offensive series at their own 39-yard line, Dan.
I think for the Raiders, the big goal on this drive is to prevent Marlborough from invoking mercy on them. 30 points after three-quarter time would lead to the running clock for the rest of the game. The Raiders have been mercied 3 times in their first 4 games. The Shepherd Hill game was the odd one out.
So Dan, help me understand here that we will go to running time format if indeed the offensive team, in this case the Panthers, were to score again.
Correct.
Okay.
It'll be running time. Clock will only stop for injuries for the rest of the game. On first down, up the middle, I think that was Borges.
This time the shirt tackle paid off. Looks like Ali Cohil was able to grab enough of a shirt there to slow that running back down. Gain of about 4 on the play.
And it was indeed Borges who goes over 100 yards with that run tonight. As advertised, Miguel Borges has been a solid running back for Marlborough tonight. And we've been seeing, really the first time Fernando Rodriguez has had the opportunity to run the football, and he's running to great success for the orange and black as well.
I may have erroneously credited that tackle. It may have been Antonio Santiago who was hanging onto the jersey there.
Second down, Borges finds a bit of space on the right side of the line. Finally pulled back after crossing the 45-yard line.
This time I'm going to credit it accurately. It was Antonio Santiago who was able to grab that jersey from behind and pull that running back back.
Give him 4 more yards on that one. And to the 47-yard line they will go. Under 8 minutes to go in this contest, 28-0, Marlborough in front. Mentioned Sean Mahoney, 19th year head coach, 121 wins, 79 losses. So last week's game against Grafton was 200 for his Marlborough career. 201 is going a lot better. This time a handoff to Rodriguez as the quarterback in Michael Benway makes his way to the left side of the line, hands it off to Santiago, who plows forward, to Rodriguez, who plows forward and gets the first down. Although there is a player slow to get up for the Red Raiders.
He wants to play on. Coach is perhaps wisely encouraging number 70, that's Manny Encarnacion, to come off at least for a play. good to see him run off the field. He was down for a moment there, and cooler heads prevailed. Coach is going to check him out, make sure he's okay before he gets back in there.
Safety first, absolutely. You know, football is a grinding game. There are injuries, and you want your players to be at their best. I'm thinking of Gardner, who had to forfeit tonight's game against Lunenburg. They just didn't have the bodies. They only had 5 healthy linemen.
Oh, wow.
So not what the Wildcats wanted to see, but it was a tough decision they had to make. Really, it's like for the health of their student athletes.
Sure.
Borges makes the run up there and gets to just short of the 40-yard line. Give him a good gain on that one.
Pickup of about 7 yards there. And you know, I'm watching the replay here. That Panther offensive line is getting a really strong push on almost every play. They are able to sort of move that line of scrimmage downfield 3-4 yards before that running back really has to make some decisions and make cuts.
Looking at just a quick scoreboard update, Leominster is losing to Peabody 35-7 at the half. The Tanners out in Eastern Mass, possibly a test too tall for the Blue Devils of Leominster to conquer, as Rodriguez brings it to the 39-yard line. Just a couple of yards gained on that one, trying to look through the scores a little bit, see if we can get any more updates.
The Peabody Tanners, what did you say, Dan?
Yes, they are the Tanners.
The Tanners, okay. Okay. Rich history of, I guess, the leather industry on the North Shore.
I imagine so.
I tell you what, we in the press box at Fitchburg State have always been impressed when you and John Gugerty reel off seemingly every team's nickname in the greater Massachusetts area.
I try to do my best on that one. Borges on the right side is going to get the first down around the 36-yard line.
Nice gain there for first down yardage. Again, the offensive line of Marlborough is just able to get a really powerful push. We're going to have an officials timeout here. We do have a Red Raider down on the field.
Another Raider down on the field. Raiders trainer Alan Toomley out on the field. First to arrive was the Marlborough trainer in Ben Michon.
Yeah, looks like he's getting up. So that appears to be Mr. Santiago again, who had taken a fairly substantial hit about 2-3 plays ago. Took another substantial hit here. Does appear to be okay. He's coming off under his own power, Dan. So hopefully that student athlete will rebound, and hopefully we can see him back out on the field tonight.
Yeah, but if not tonight, then in another game. But nonetheless, so Santiago will come off. He'll get the attention he needs.
He's had a strong game, Dan. Santiago has been involved in a lot of the defensive plays of the Red Raiders, so certainly he can take pride in his performance tonight as well.
You bet. He's one of those big defensive leaders for the Red and Gray. Just a junior as well, so he'll be back next year. And that's something that the Raiders will be looking forward to, is they've got some solid juniors on this squad who will be looking to step up and try to make this team move better on, if that makes any sense. Just try to get the momentum grinding. Might have been a new quarterback in the game.
I was just about to say, Dan, I saw Seamus Mahoney seemingly in the role of the quarterback position there. I know we've got him listed as a running back and a linebacker and a freshman, but I really thought that was Mahoney. Yeah, I'm seeing number 45 there, Dan.
Yeah, that's very interesting to see in many ways, but Seamus Mahoney, the freshman, 5'5", 155 he's billed. And he's out on the field playing the role of a quarterback. Very unconventional. Who had the run on that last play?
Dan, I apologize. I did not get that.
Didn't either, but whoever it was got a few yards on that one. On second down, a lot of misdirection on the line.
A little bit bouncy on the exchange there. Looks like Marlborough has some of their second stringers in at this point. Was that Ryan Wood with the carry?
So we'll have a look at the replay.
So this was the play before. Was that Rodriguez?
I don't know. I've gotten to the point where I'm just punching 0 into my thing. That's the I don't know button.
So, no, it was not Rodriguez. I'm sorry. So that was Javian Huertas. had that run. That was 2 plays ago. And this appears to be Huertas again.
Huertas, number 29 for the Panthers. The funny part is because I didn't have the right roster loaded in, it doesn't even tell me. I can't even put him in because it thinks somebody else is that.
Oh, dear.
That's going well.
4th down and 1 for the Panther offense. Again, we are seeing some, we assume, backups in play now. The quarterback, who we've got listed as a running back, is freshman, was that?
Yeah, Seamus Mahoney.
Seamus Mahoney, who remains in there in the quarterback role.
It's also very weird to see a number in the 40s playing the role of a quarterback.
That's why I was so confused when I saw him walking off the field to get the next play.
Yep. Takes some contact there. He's going to keep it himself. I don't think he's going to get to the line of scrimmage.
I would agree with you. The spot will be rather interesting here, but I too think he was short. Yep, they've turned it over on downs. Red Raiders held. Good for them.
Able to get the stop there on 4th down as Mahoney just drives into the line and cannot find an opening. It's still very interesting, good experience there for Mahoney, the freshman, and you don't see too many freshmen get to take snaps at quarterback unless you're at Leominster. Cyrus Lopez, the freshman quarterback for the Blue Devils, helped lead them to the 4-0 start.
Oh, no kidding. Starting?
Yep, starting quarterback, a freshman. I was told they were him and Caden Drinkwater, a freshman receiver, 2 of the, quote, worst-kept secrets in youth football coming up in the last few years.
No kidding.
It was only a matter of time before they were able to start playing varsity football for the Blue Devils, and they have had a tremendous run of it thus far. However, it's just been a matter of tonight, not so much in Peabody.
The Tanners, Dan.
The Tanners have been too strong. Really wanted to get a Monty Tech Blue Hills update, but I can't seem to find one right now. Regardless, that was Monty Tech's homecoming. We'll have the Red Raiders homecoming next week as on 1st down. There's a great run for the Red Raiders.
Fantastic run there by Luke Bolak, particularly when you consider that it was a very high snap that he had to work incredibly hard just to bring it down. But he's going to pick up close to 15 yards on that run. Great run there by Bolak.
Gets him to the 42-yard line. It is exactly 15 yards.
Boy, you can really see Luke Bolak's upfield vision. The cuts he's making, he's able to really predict where the defender is going to move next. He didn't have many blockers on that. It was his upfield vision, his ability to see where those defenders were likely to go that allows him to pick up really quality yardage on that play.
Under 2 minutes to go. See if the Red Raiders can at least get 1 score on the board to finish this night. Try to come away with at least points. A very bad snap, but it's picked up there. Well thought out there by Eli Gonzalez.
Yeah, you know what? That's 2 in a row now where a bad snap has led to some reasonably good yardage. Pickup of about 5, almost 6 on that play. So certainly we don't endorse bad snaps, Dan, but if the outcome is going to be like this, pickup of about 18 yards in the past 2 plays, well, okay.
Yeah, that was very interesting. Raiders are going to call timeout with 1:27 to go. So as you can see, they are very serious about finding success on this potentially last drive of the contest. Yeah, that's also interesting too for Gonzalez. Not too often you see the bad snap picked up by the running back, but he got 5 yards out of it.
Yep, real Johnny on the spot here, able to grab that ball.
And so next week we want to also mention, as we take one more look at it, you see, and Gonzalez just steps up there, picks up the football, makes a couple moves, and gets 5 yards. So we want to remind you, next week we're going to have a doubleheader of football here on FATV. You're going to be involved in both of those, although only one on the broadcast specifically itself, the other just sort of in a contributing role, as you know. So next week we've got Fitchburg and Westboro here at historic Crocker Field, 7 o'clock start. And right now the Rangers of Westboro 0-4. That could be a very interesting matchup. I think. Well, there's definitely going to be a team coming away with the victory in that one. Could be the first victory of the season for either side.
Yep.
And then the following day, Fitchburg State, after a couple weeks on the road, will be back in action hosting the Panthers of Plymouth State. Noontime kickoff from Elliott Field. Doc Hines will be back on the PA mic for that one. Meanwhile, Bolak is scrambling, looking for time. He's found the time and some space, and he's across midfield into Panther territory.
Yet another good run for Bolak from the quarterback position. Again, as you said, Dan, good for first down yardage. They're now in Panther territory. Clearly, as you mentioned, these Red Raiders would like to put some points on the board and walk away from this night. Again, Dan, though, the scoreboard here I don't think is reflective of how hard these Red Raiders have played tonight. There was a bit of a lapse in the second quarter, but aside from that, the defense has played well, and the offense has been able to move the ball for the most part.
They've held Marlborough to just 204 yards of offense tonight, but it's been the 100 yards of penalties that have really done the Raiders in tonight. The scoreboard is definitely not indicative of the performance. 46 yards from goal are the Red Raiders as Early moves in motion. 3 receivers on the left side. Bolak with a bit of time will throw. Requires a diving catch that's out of the reach of Josh Nardi.
Nice effort there. So a minute 10 remaining. 2nd and 10. Just going to watch the replay here for a moment. It was a well-designed play, Dan. Just, yeah, a little bit beyond the reach there of the receiver.
Trying to put it in a spot and Nardi not able to get back there quickly enough. Or maybe just, a little bit inaccurate and Nardi not able to adjust quickly enough. 2nd down, 10 to go, 46 yards away from finding their first score in some time. It's Bolak moving out to the left side. And now he's got some room to run, and he's still on his feet at the 30, at the 25, and the 20-yard line.
Outstanding run there for Luke Bolak, the quarterback. We are under a minute here in the fourth quarter, but judging from the energy of Luke Bolak, these Red Raiders have not yet called uncle in this game.
Gets it to the 17-yard line of Marlborough.
What was the pickup there, Dan?
That was 29 yards.
Outstanding. Great run. And again, if you watch, Bolak is doing most of the work himself. He's not getting a lot of blocks that far downfield, certainly. He just has great vision for the field.
Indeed, and he is a junior quarterback, and I feel at times, the offensive line, for as good as they are and their performance, if they were better, I think Bolak would have significantly better numbers. It's just been a matter of they've been outclassed by a lot of solid Central Mass opposition lines this season. But Bolak, working with what he's got, he's now up to 59 yards of running, the leading runner for the Red Raiders tonight after that 29-yard scamper. But Bolak's got great vision looking downfield. He's made some great moves, and he's helping keeping this drive alive. And again, now last time out in the Shepherd Hill game, the last time we saw the Red Raiders, they tried to get a last-minute score. Similar to this situation, it ultimately ended with an interception. But the Raiders, they do want to play all 48 minutes, and they do want to come away with points on the board. They have been shut out the last 9 quarters. They don't want to make it 10.
Dan, I'm going to make a bold prediction. The Red Raiders will put points on the board tonight. There's my bold prediction. You can lock that one in, Dan.
All righty, another high snap, and big trouble immediately as unmarked and untouched Patrick Haviland comes in to try to ruin your prediction.
Yeah, I was going to say, maybe I'll just keep my prognostications to myself for the remaining 35 seconds of this game.
I'm not going to blame you for that one, but that's just a matter of someone did not mark number 33, and Haviland there just swarming in the sophomore linebacker. Now a quick throw to the right side, just underthrown and incomplete. A couple of receivers, 2-on-2 coverage right on the goal line, but Bolak just under a lot of pressure, couldn't get enough arm strength off there.
He was lucky to actually escape a couple of sack opportunities by the Panther defense there. So give the junior quarterback credit.
And really, for that, in that case, it's like, as sad as it might be that it did come up short and incomplete, could have been a lot worse.
I'm just reviewing in my mind, Dan, what I've learned tonight. Babe Ruth visited Crocker Field and asked what professional team plays here. Okay. We have learned that there's such a thing as a wireless pickup on electronic guitars and electric basses. Okay. It's been a very, very important night for me, Dan. Thank you.
Yep, I think we've learned some things today as Bolak will look to run here, as now he's going to make a jump pass towards the end zone. Had Nardi open, but unfortunately a Canadian football field would have been required to haul that one in.
Canadian football field.
They're a bit wider, about 200 feet wide, compared to the 160 that you get with the American football field. And so incomplete that goes.
Are the end zones deeper also in Canadian football?
Yes, they are, up to 20 yards.
Really?
As opposed to the 10 yards. The goalposts are placed in such a manner that you've got the post right on the goal line. So that is a hazard that receivers have to navigate.
Really? In this day and age, they have the goalpost right there on the end zone line?
Well, field goals would be very difficult if they were in the back of the end zone. And also, I mentioned up to 20 yards. It's not a hard max. It's not a hard line there. You can go a little shallower. But regardless, it does bring up 4th down and a lot to go. Another high snap. Bolak with time, going to look for the end zone. And Bate just cannot haul it in.
So close.
Double coverage, tried to drop it in the bucket, and Bate just could not get his hands on that one. The coverage too strong. So Fitchburg had some opportunities, but in the end, are going to be shut out for the 2nd straight week and the 3rd time this season.
And that's unfortunate. You know, the Red Raiders, they played well tonight, Dan. I really applaud the fact that they hung in there late into the 4th quarter. That was nearly 6 for Bate there. It was very, very close.
Bate, I think, had the best look of all on that one.
I think so, too.
That was a tremendous angle, by the way.
Yep.
It was right in the midst of the action, but in the end, just could not find the recipient. And so Marlborough with one kneel down will put an end to this contest. At least at the very end, one of the positives, we said penalties was a key factor in this contest, and in the second half, I think it was just one penalty against the Raiders. It gave Marlborough a 1st down, but besides that, one penalty. They got more disciplined in the second half,
they did.
Which is a positive. Unfortunately, they dug themselves into too deep a hole to start, and thus the Panthers come away with a 28-0 victory.
So, Dan, it was a pleasure. Again, I thank you for allowing me the opportunity to fill in for your regular partner, John Gugerty. We all wish him well, and he will be back for those fans that have had quite enough of your partner from tonight. John Gugerty will return to the broadcast ranks with you for the latter part of the season, correct?
And he'll join a little later. He'll be back in time for Senior Day for Fitchburg and for Fitchburg State. But I believe next week, I think you've done well enough that you can come back.
Oh, I can come back?
I believe you can, yes.
Well, you know what? Thank you, Dan. Thank you to all the folks at FATV. It was a real pleasure being here tonight, and I appreciate the opportunity and the opportunity to bring you all Red Raiders football right here from historic Crocker Field.
Indeed. So the Panthers go to 4-1 on the season with the victory, 28-0. A solid victory for the Orange and Black, as the Raiders will fall to 0-5. And I'll try to get you some quick stats here.
Yeah, so the Red Raiders, I mean, they've had a tough beginning to the season, and they've played some very, very, very strong programs. But there are winnable games remaining on the season. And from what I saw tonight, and as fans probably realize, I don't watch a whole lot of high school football in the region. This Red Raider team wants to play. They're here to compete, and I think there's going to be some good football for this team going forward as we get into October.
Oh, no question about it. For the Raiders and playoff hopes as slim as they are, because you do need to win 3 games to qualify for the postseason. That means that was really the last loss to give, basically, for the Raiders. They will have to win the last 3 games if they want any chance of qualifying for postseason play. And Westboro, at least for homecoming next week, looks like that could be a winnable game. The Rangers 0-4 coming into this week and had a very strong opponent to deal with. So I think that's something where you'll have 2 teams looking and hungry for a victory, and I think we're going to have a great game next week. After that, it's on the road at Neshoba, and then on the road to Foley Stadium in Worcester against Doherty, a team that has also struggled and are currently winless as well. So there are definitely games that the Raiders can win. They look like they've got the ability to come away with the victory. It's just a matter of putting it all together.
I agree totally, Dan. For the Panthers of Marlborough, it looks like they'll be moving on to Neshoba, which should be a tough test for them. They've got Algonquin, and that'll be at home for them on the 21st. They'll be playing Westboro, and then they'll be playing Hudson. I have to defer to your knowledge of local high school football, Dan. Is this Marlborough Panther team a playoff team, in your opinion?
I do believe they are. Well,
Okay.
Right now they come into tonight ranked 9th in Division 4. They're actually going to lose a little bit of points tonight because Fitchburg is a little down in the ratings,
Yep.
which is a bit of an unfortunate side effect of how things work, although Raider victories over the course of the last few weeks will help to adjust that back in a positive favor for Marlborough. But for tonight, they got the 14 plus point victory that they needed to get maximum points tonight. They played well. They played a solid, disciplined game of football. They kept it primarily on the ground except for the very one pass at the right time. The Raiders held them to just a shade over 200 yards of offense. It was just a matter of too many favors done in by Red Raider in discipline. The Red Raiders finished with 132 yards, 85 on the ground, 47 through the air. They were finding a bit of success on the ground, but really when they had to go to the air late, they were struggling in that regard. It seems like they can get passes for short yardage. Long yardage is a little more of an ask.
Yeah.
And we did not see the leading receiver for the Red Raiders in Josh Medina tonight, which couldn't have helped matters either.
At the end of the day, though, Dan, I think this Red Raider team has an awful lot to be proud about. They came out, they competed, they played hard, and personally I look forward to what remains for the Red Raiders this season, and I very much look forward to being back with you next week.
Indeed. So once again, we want to thank our underwriters who help make all of our remote productions possible one more time. They're Workers Credit Union, Rollstone Bank and Trust, UMass Memorial Health, Health Alliance Clinton Hospital, North End Subaru, Unitil, Minuteman Press, and the Sentinel and Enterprise. And again, we want to thank our crew one more time. Nate Glennie, our director, Robin Como, our technical director, Travis Falk, audio and graphics, Caitlin Mobilia on replay, Andrew Goff and Jared Roberts on the top of the press box, Derek Terrell, Dylan O'Brien, Jesus Tavares-Diaz, and Tyler Sargent down on the field. And just tremendous work by our volunteers and our staffers tonight to bring you a tremendous broadcast, even if for the Red Raiders the result wasn't what was desired. But regardless, a good victory for Marlborough as well. They played a very disciplined, very solid game. They got what they were looking for, and they go to 4-1 on the season, bouncing back from that loss against their nemesis in Grafton. And for the Raiders, they have homecoming to look forward to. It should be a great atmosphere. It should be a greatly competitive game, and we look forward to bringing it to you.
Outstanding. So if you can't make it to Crocker Field next Friday, tune in to the FATV broadcast, and we'll bring it all to you, which, as you said, Dan, should be a great game.
Indeed. And we want to also, before we sign off, we want to mention one last time our thoughts with the Raff family. Charlie Raff, a great coach here in North Central Massachusetts, who had such an impact on so many lives here in North Central Mass, for all the football, for West Springfield, where he graduated, for Fitchburg State, which he attended, for Gardner and Leominster, where he was an assistant coach, for Oakmont, where he was the head coach, for right here in Fitchburg, where he was the defensive coordinator, and in North Middlesex, where he also served as an assistant coach. So many teams, so many lives that he helped impact, and we are going to miss Coach Charlie Raff. We'll sign off with that. 28-0, the victory to Marlborough. And so for everyone here at FATV and for Dr. Robert Hines, I'm Daniel Bolak saying thank you for tuning in. Until next time, so long from Fitchburg.